Hello and welcome to episode 109 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian.
I'm James.
I'm Yuri, and we're going for a podcast.
The Clean Energy Show.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Yuri. This is the first guest we've ever had on the show, so thank you so much for getting in touch. I'm a huge fan of the Straight Pipes channel on YouTube. I've been watching it for years. I subscribed very early. And it's just a huge pleasure to talk to you as a huge resource for electric vehicles.
Yeah, it's nice being on the show with you guys. You guys have a lot of really interesting information that's like clean energy, but not just EV stuff too. So it's really interesting to hear. And then I love the TikTok, just being able to go through the little things quick. That's been really nice. So yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah, we're too old for TikTok, but we try. We haven't danced yet. When we dance, our numbers will go up. I'm working on my moves, and I got to get a hip replacement.
Different TikToks for different age groups, and it's I think I'm on older people TikTok too. I've never seen a single Charlie D'Amelio dance at all. Never in my For You page.
You know, I look at our subscribers' little heads, and they all look like us. They're all middle aged like Brian and I, and they exist. A lot of people think they don't exist, but the TikTok algorithm finds them. YouTube does nothing for us. I don't even know why I post stuff there. But you were saying that it's kind of hard to grow your channel, but you're pretty well established now, right?
Yeah, we started in 2015 doing reviews. We filmed our first review in 2015 in November and started posting in 2016, and then got pretty regular by 2017 with 2 reviews a week. We just do new car reviews. Gas, electric, even though it's called the Straight Pipes, that's because Jacob started the channel filming exhaust, and he loves loud exhaust. I personally don't like exhausts too loud myself, so any of my fast cars all have like the trick exhaust that I can close it when I want it to be nice and quiet and leave the house. But you know,
I in the 90s I used to have a comedy show on local television, and to this day, and I was with a partner, his name is Kevin, and to this day people will come up on the street decades later and say, "Where's Kevin?" As if he should be right beside me. Do you ever get that from people who watch your channel? Where's Jacob?
Yeah, a lot of the time. Like today, Jacob posted a video from when he was in Alberta, and he just did a solo video because I didn't go out there for the Rolls-Royce event. And a lot of the comments
so we just had fax machines in my day.
Yeah.
Back then. But
no,
he posted a fax, so he's doing great.
A lot of the comments were like, "Where's Yuri? Where's Yuri?" But then I got my own solo video of the Volvo C40 electric the next week. But we've just been doing that a little bit here and there, just when we want to do different things.
But yeah, the TikTok algorithm does seem to be better at finding listeners for us. And I know, I subscribed to the Straight Pipes when you guys had around 1,000 subscribers, and it seemed to grow really slow at the beginning. And then at a certain point, it just took off. I think you're up to about 1.5 million now, but it's sort of leveled off, you say?
Yeah, I mean, the algorithm changed to the point where you don't need to subscribe as much. It kind of just feeds you videos on what you see, and then you don't even realize you're subscribed to stuff, but you've been watching it forever. So at least for us, not being clickbaity or not doing anything too crazy, we just kind of grow at a nice chill pace, and it's kind of slowed down, but our views are still pretty high. It's just the subscriber numbers. So starting out on YouTube now in cars would be really difficult just because people don't really need to subscribe.
Yeah. So you guys are in Ontario. I noticed, the book says to appeal to Americans because that's where 9 times the audience is. But you guys seem like you're even. You put things in kilometers and you kind of balance it evenly between the two countries. Is that correct?
Well, we're Canadian, so we'll give the Canadian pricing. And then we'll do kilometers because I don't understand miles. And I'll do liters per 100 kilometers because I also don't understand miles per gallon. But then we'll convert as much as we can just because 50% of our audience is from the USA. And then only 10 to 15 is from Canada. But it's the size difference. What can you do? You just have to, accept that. But we don't do the exact pricing of cars for USA just because everything in Canada gets heated seats and a heated steering wheel. But the USA does not add that on any specs usually. So there is no direct price usually. So we just do the direct conversion, and that'll get people in the ballpark.
Have you ever been to Western Canada, Yuri?
Yeah, a couple times. I used to live in Nelson for 6 months.
Oh, well, that Nelson's a tropical paradise compared to Saskatchewan. It gets cold here. So we have a very weird dynamic about electric cars in winter. And I've had one for a few years. I've got a 13 Nissan Leaf. Brian has a Tesla Model 3. And haven't had any problems with mine. It works really great. It gets down to minus 40. I pass by people who are getting boosts in their combustion cars and trucks, and my neighbors, and waiting for cabs. But now that there's a lot more electric vehicles here than there used to be, we're starting to see more winter problems. What do you guys think about electric vehicles in the wintertime? In Ontario winter. I'm making quotes.
I'm all right with it. Like even in Quebec winter, you just need to accept that your range is lower and just take that into account. And like I'd be fine with it if I had one all winter. Like I don't know. I don't think there is much of an issue as long as you're reasonable about what the battery is capable of.
Do you have an idea of what the range is percentage-wise in winter testing that you've done? Have you seen a noticeable drop, like 40% or less than that?
I don't think we've really done like full winter testing because you only get the cars for a week for press cars here. And then if you get the press car, are you going to do like a full road trip and a full tank, or are you going to drive it around enough, get it charged up, get the review done on the day with nice weather? Because like say we get a car on Monday, right? Now some of the cars we get on like a Tuesday, and then we need to film either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever day has the nicest weather. So if it's a Thursday, what we'll try to do is put in as many hours on the Wednesday, but we aren't necessarily going to be able to range test it. And then if we're going to performance test it, then all our range figures go out the window because we've just been flooring it through Cliche Corner for like 10 minutes.
Follow-up question. When did car companies start coming to you? When did your phone start to ring with, will you review our BMW?
Oh, man. Well, we had to approach everyone after doing a bunch of like friend cars. And then we started getting press cars, like the crappier ones. And then we got the nicer ones. And then after that, get invited to some trips. But even like now, being in Canada, it's like a way different world than in the States. Even though we're like one of the top car review channels in North America and worldwide, it's still like a fight to get cars up here for us sometimes. And like we don't get invited to certain events and stuff like that.
Have you been flown to San Diego or anything like that?
We've been flown around a lot when we were traveling before all the COVID stuff. But yeah, no, getting cars up in Canada is tricky. And even for them to get the cars compared to how fast USA gets them. So Canada usually gets cars like a month or two later, which makes it even trickier. So
you want them right away because everybody else has their videos out and you have to add something different.
But they get us cars like pretty quickly for the most part, like the BMW iX and the i4. Like BMW called us up, they're like, we got the iX, cool, right away, and then got the i4 after. So that was nice. Like a lot of companies are pretty good about getting us the cars very quickly. But it takes a while. But Canada's still a little weird about that stuff.
So what's the vibe when you get flown to, I don't know, Tennessee or somewhere, and there's a bunch of car reviewers from YouTube? Is it a community, or are you competitive with each other? I mean, or does people just keep to themselves?
All the YouTubers are cool with each other. We're all having fun, but the thing is, we go on the Canadian waves, not the US waves. So so we're just hanging out with the other Canadians, but most of them are article writers. So they're not like on the same page as us. Like they like to do the scavenger hunts and like all the fun stuff and stop at the dinner stops and lunch stops.
Really?
Well, because it's like a drive route, and we're just like, leave us alone, give us the car. We're gonna go do our thing, just because filming takes a lot longer. And
writing's nothing. Putting up 16 different cameras.
I'm not gonna say writing's nothing because I'm not good at writing, but the writers, if there's no embargo, will have articles out by the first lunch stop. Where we can't do that. But I don't know anything about writing. So for video, I just know it takes longer. But it's fun. It's just like, it's more hectic on trips for the YouTube guys. And now they're having to do like video only waves where it'll be like, this group is just doing video. We have a different program for them than the writers so that they can get everything they need because they know that it's taking longer.
Yeah, and I want to compliment you on the filming technique, like the visually, the editing, like the Straight Pipes channel. It's one of the reasons I love it so much. It's just one of the most well-produced shows on YouTube. So nice job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was kind of like I think our gimmick to start us off before we had much car knowledge was that our car footage looked better than everyone else's. And it was like, I guess, up there with like Motor Trend quality at the time, which you couldn't get from anyone else. It was just like GoPro stuff. So I think that helped us at the start. But now everyone coming in has really good film quality. Like there's another channel, Accelerate that I think just hit 125K subs from London, Ontario. And their film stuff blows us out of the water. And it's like, okay, well, I guess that's the evolution of people on YouTube.
Okay, well, we'll hang up on you and go talk to them then, I guess.
Yeah. Next guest.
How many cameras do you own?
Like right now, I guess probably like
Don't be shy.
15, but a lot of them I don't use. It might be like old Insta360s or DSLRs that just sit in a box and collect dust.
Okay, how many are active and could be used on the show?
On like one shoot day, it'll be 28400, 6500, this, maybe Insta360, or if we bring a drone, and then there's 2 cell phones. So we're running at least like 9 devices.
Actually, use cell phones too.
Well, the dynamic range on the new iPhone is insane, and for filming interiors, like you'll know, Brian, if you try to film the interior of a car, it's super, you brighten it up, and then outside is blown out, and that doesn't look cool. So with the iPhone, it's got like the computer built in, so you get a really nice dynamic range. Like you don't get good depth of field or anything. It doesn't look cinematic, but at least everything is exposed. For exposure, it's the best because it's a computer, right? You've got like a $2,000 computer phone camera in your pocket, and it's like, okay.
But is that what you're using for the interior 2-shot then?
No, we use the DSLR with a hybrid log gamma because we want depth of field, because we don't want it to look like a GoPro, because GoPros are easy, and if everything
don't give away too many
easy,
secrets, man.
I'm just giving
away secrets.
There's certain secrets that I'm allowed to give out. Certain secrets. There's one, our car-to-car rolling camera, we've never told anyone, and no one will ever know.
There was one video you did a couple of years ago with the ice drifting that had a lot of drone work. That one was amazing. That must have been tough to shoot.
Not really, because I'm good at flying drones, or at least I was back then, because that was my old job. And then I'm flying drones chasing cars where there's no trees for once on a racetrack. So. But I'm like fully zoomed in because it was the Mavic Zoom. So it was nice not having obstacles and being able to track anything the way I wanted to. So it was only difficult because it was cold, but it was like really fun and probably like the most satisfying video we filmed.
Yeah, no, it looked amazing. Should we get into talking about some cars? So Yuri, you've driven more EVs than most humans, I think. So yeah, we want to talk to you about some of the EVs you've driven.
All right, so I got the numbers. So I think of our 500 car reviews we've done so far, we've done 28 electric vehicles and 57 hybrid vehicles. But some of those hybrid vehicles are like the AMG E53 with EQ boost, so it doesn't count. But some of those are like the i8, which kind of does. Is the i8 plug-in? I kind of forget.
And I know you did the recent Mercedes electric. Was that the E.V.s? So let's start by talking about the ones that nobody can afford.
I got them on my list. Pretty much no electric cars you can afford, it seems like these days. Or you can't even, if you can't afford it, you can't get one for 2 years. Well, like E.V.s just closed their stuff or whatever, and you can't get it.
You can't order an E.V.s anymore, yeah.
So the E.V.s, very cool, very luxurious, lots of gimmicks. It's more like of a show than an actual car I want to drive. And it's fast, it's cool. The lights were insane. Did you see how the lights changed while you drive?
Yeah. And there was that weird crystal knob that was shining lights on your faces the whole time.
That was the iX.
Oh, the iX. Okay.
I think that's more of just like a PR car than like a realistic car you'd want to own, because even the back seat room wasn't that much, but it was very interesting and it was cool. But not something I really cared about.
But I mean, it must always be fun driving like super crazy expensive cars like that.
It's fun, a little stressful, because like at the end of the day, you're responsible for it, kind of. But it is cool being able to explore all this stuff. But it does suck, like you get in and you realize that everything's touch, and it's like it's frustrating, and you're like, no, I'm gonna have to like be negative because I don't know how to use anything, and I don't like this, and I just want my hard buttons. But maybe I'm a little bit old school when it comes to that. But it is fun getting in and like discovering how crazy the ambient lighting and stuff like that. I really had fun with that.
Have you ever had an accident with a car like that? Like something bad?
No, we've been good. We're always careful about everything, because like the number one thing is like if you break cars, like you might not be able to work much longer, and we want to keep working because we got kids and stuff. So yeah, we're careful, but you never know, right? where we film a Cliche Corner, it's a kind of skinny, sketchy road, and sometimes big tractors come through there. And if someone's too wide or cutting a corner, like there's nothing you can do and you get hit. And that's why like I don't even want to take, like if I ever drove a really expensive car, like $1 million car, like I wouldn't even want to take it through there just in case someone coming the other way does something weird.
Sorry, for those who don't know, Cliche Corner is a road in Ontario where you drive all the cars.
Yeah, and we call it Cliche Corner because it's the most cliche filming road for a car review. And it turns out it's the only road for a car review that looks cool in Southern Ontario. So that kind of sucks too about it.
Yeah, they're all straight here in Saskatchewan.
Unfortunately. If you give a car back that you've hated and you have to deal with a rep, do you lie? Do you say, yeah, it was good. Yeah, no, I liked it. Like that. How does that go?
No, well, the thing is, everything we say negative, we show on video.
Right.
So if I say this screen is laggy and I show the screen being laggy, I'm in the clear. It's their fault, not mine. So as opposed to articles, they may write this screen is laggy, this seat's not this, and this isn't whatever. They're not showing it, so maybe they'll get in more trouble, but like we have evidence of everything we say, and they can fix that by making it faster. But, you know, we don't say anything that we can't back up with video, which is one of the nice things about our channel. But, I mean, if someone doesn't like, we don't really get in trouble. You just got to be fair. You can't just like go out and hate it for no reason.
And before we move on, what is your favorite car review channel?
I think Savage Geese. He's out of Chicago. He's just very realistic about everything. And if I needed to take someone's advice over anyone else's advice, it'd probably be his.
Yeah, he goes quite in depth on each car.
Yeah, every car's got to go on the hoist. He goes underneath. He talks about all kinds of stuff that goes like way over my head, and like a lot of engineering stuff that because I'm more like user interface and user experience kind of thing, and he's very engineer about it. So it's cool to see the different take on it.
You were just talking about hard buttons, so you have a preference for hard buttons in cars. So we should maybe get to another expensive car, maybe talk about Tesla, because of course they're known for having almost everything on the touch screen. And I know you drove a Model X, so that's another expensive car.
Okay, so the Model X, that was actually from Tesla PR.
Really?
Which was crazy because they don't have that. So
no, they don't normally do that.
Yeah, and we actually kind of got banned from that because we were driving with the doors up, and like at the beginning, so they're like, you guys can't be doing this stuff. So we look bad, but I mean, Tesla's kind of a meme company, and like everything, they do stuff like that. So we thought it was okay, but I guess it comes down to like, that's not safe on the road. But you know, we're in like a private lot doing it back and forth slowly. So like at like 0 kilometers an hour, 2 kilometers an hour. But yeah, so that car, I think my theory behind Tesla and their user interface with the no hard buttons is they have a better design team than everyone else. And therefore it's easier. It makes more sense. It's more natural. So like in the Mach-E, it was hard to use that vertical tablet style thing. It just wasn't as intuitive as a Tesla was. It was just like, it felt like that was more Android, and then Tesla's more Apple, where it's like, okay, you're not going to get all the features right away, but the features we're going to give you are going to be really good, and they're all going to work perfectly. And that's how I felt when I drove that Tesla, but I haven't driven a Tesla since, and I think they did a firmware update where the infotainment is now different, but I'm not sure.
They've changed it, so it is, I find it slightly harder to use now. But of course, they're moving towards an autonomous future. So I think they're thinking, well, you know, if you can't access a button, don't worry, because the car will just drive itself in a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff. Like my old devices, I don't update anything that I don't need to update. My iPhone I'll update it, but I don't update apps automatically. I just, as I need to update it, if I'm forced to, I'll update it. If not, I'll keep it old just because I hate everything about that. And even like Kias, you take them to the dealer and there's like a Kia infotainment that I really like the 2018, 19 stuff. I think the dealers will update your system and it'll update the infotainment. So now you have in my opinion, worse infotainment that you weren't expecting. And I don't think you can go back. So like, I don't like the updates. I like to be able to like stay on a certain firmware or whatever and leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of gave up fighting that, and I now do automatic updates. I don't know. You can't fight City Hall.
Yuri, your partner Jacob, he doesn't like E.V.s. So we're pretty much
he
like
likes
60
EVs.
minutes. He does?
He likes EVs. He doesn't like talking about the charging infrastructure.
Oh, okay. So what's his favorite EV?
I'm going to assume let me double check
Porsche
the list.
Taycan.
I think the Taycan.
Aha!
Or the e-tron, because you can adjust the vents with your hand.
Oh.
Where the Taycan is like too much weird infotainment stuff. No, he doesn't like the weird infotainment stuff on the Taycan. He liked the e-tron GT more, and he also really liked the Mach-E GT because it was a normal-ish style electric car.
So he likes normal.
Yeah.
Do you find that the EVs are a bit weird, and they're trying to stand out?
Yeah, for sure. They're doing that because it's like marketing, like they're just adding more weird things to them, and it's like, just stop adding weird stuff. Like the E.V.s, that button that you use to toggle between your climate controls and your radio controls, and it's like, I get that you're putting this in, and I'm on the E.V.s Facebook group, and like everyone there is defending that to the death because they probably purchased it and they don't want to they don't want to admit that their purchase is flawed. But yeah, no, I am not about the weirdness. Like the old Ioniq, the first Ioniq EV we drove, which was our first electric car, I think they nailed it at that point, and everything's just been like downhill since then.
That's the regular Ioniq with the 3 different versions?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That was my favorite.
Yeah. Everyone kind of does this where they feel like they have to make an upgrade, they have to make an update.
Yeah.
And they don't take into account if it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
And especially with the shortage of cars right now, and every car is like for sale or sold out ahead of time, they can literally get everything wrong and justify everything they did because they sold all their cars. They can be like, look, people love our weird capacitive touch buttons. They're all sold out. And it's like, they're all sold out because we can't get cars.
You know what I want in the Ioniq 5 that's an option is the fridge that goes between the back seats. I don't know if you saw that that's even an option, but I saw a review from Asia that showed it. They also have an optional movie projector and screen that comes down. The screen looks like a piece of paper, but it would probably last as long, but they actually have a movie projector. But I want the fridge. I've always wanted a car with a fridge. I'm a cold drink person, and that's never going to happen. I noticed that a lot of your EV reviews have higher numbers than your regular reviews. Have you noticed that? Is that me implying something that's not true?
Probably. So I think what it is
tech people.
For us, when a car comes out, and if we can review it right when it comes out, it'll get more views. And if we wait too long on it, it won't get many views. That's why we turned down the Bolt EUV, because Canada got it so late after the USA, and we're like, it's going to flop if we post it now. So we just didn't bother booking it at all. But I think the recent EV cars, they just came out at the same time or close enough to the US when they all came out. So the hype was still pretty high. But yeah, I'm trying to think which ones have good or bad. I can't see the views here. Let me double check the channel. But yeah, it's as long as it comes out, like as long as we review it when it comes out, people are excited, even for anything. And if we review a car that's been out for a while, people aren't as excited. Like we reviewed a Chevy Traverse recently.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the other car review channels, we're actually the most viewed car review channel in the world who has reviewed a Chevy Traverse. Because that car doesn't do well. Like Doug doesn't have one, Throttle House doesn't have one, so that's our claim to fame.
Yeah.
The Traverse.
So I want to get back to the Porsche Taycan, another expensive one. So what do you remember about driving that?
The Taycan, we actually got to drive that on the track with a Porsche event, and we only drove the turbo with all seasons. We didn't drive the turbo with performance tires. For some reason, that's just how the event was set up. And with all seasons, man, that car was not fun on track at all. You're just like coming in and just like sloppy and then just powering out. But with the performance tires on the road, it felt like unreal. So, but yeah, that car, the performance is just insane. It's really, really fun to drive, but it's like a different style of fun that I don't know if I'm like into as much as like a Miata with a manual transmission. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I like the interior. Do you like the interior? I like the styling of it.
The styling's nice, but then you come back to, you have to control your vents through your infotainment, which is, I don't like that. And then, you know, your climate's all touch buttons, which I'm sure is a lot less expensive to make because it's just like you're paying for 2 screens instead of a bunch of buttons that can fail and everything like that. But it's just not my style. But I do like the car a lot. I had the rear-wheel drive one in pink, which was from the USA because we don't actually get the rear-wheel drive in Canada. And that one I really liked, even though it was a slower model.
What is the challenge of EVs with handling when you're comparing handling? Is it always an issue because they're heavier?
Well, they've got a lower center of balance, lower center of gravity. So they even like an SUV EV will handle better than like a lot of cars. It's just that they all feel kind of the same because the transmissions and the motors, it's like that instant torque coming out. So it's more of a get through the corner and then blast your way. You're almost like bombing into corners and then hard on the brakes and then bombing out instead of like smoother with maybe like a gas car or slower car. It's just a different feeling that I don't really like. And I think they're all so fast that it's kind of like not that enjoyable anymore. Do you know, like everything's too fast.
Yeah. Were you skeptical about EVs at first, and was there a point where you started to come around?
No, I always liked EVs because our first EV was the Ioniq EV, and I thought that was like really cool. That was the one we drove to Ottawa and back from Toronto. That took 24 hours because of charging and running low. Like the first couple of cars, the EVs we drove, I ran out of battery in like all of them,
Really?
just figuring it all out. So that was interesting experiences. But no, I always thought EVs were cool. I always thought they'd work out. It's just I didn't realize in 2018 or 17 that the charging wasn't going to get better in 5 years.
Yeah. Well, as an aside, I watched your Toyota Corolla crossover review at breakfast this morning with my toast, and I got angry. It's my trademark on the show to get angry. Well, it's the whole you've got remote start on the fob for 3 years, and then they charge you for it. It's like charging you for a cigarette lighter. I mean, come on.
I think we were corrected to 10 years.
Okay.
But then, yes, so I guess that's just kind of the way companies are doing things. They realize they can get away with it, that if they, even though the car has the hardware for it, it's going to send the signal and make sure your subscription is active for it. And I guess that's the way it ties into the app. That's one of those things that I don't like about newer cars that I'm always trying to fight as well. So I feel like we're anti-subscription for car services, and then we're anti- apps for charging stations when I just want to pay with a credit card and get out of there kind of stuff.
Right. And
yeah, well, maybe should we get into the charging issues now?
Yeah, that's why Jacob didn't want to come on this, because he's tired of talking about electric chargers. But I feel like that's one of the things that I can maybe help change in Canada with electric cars. So I'm very excited to maybe do something positive with my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, with Brian's case with the Tesla, you plug it in, it knows your car, it bills your account. And why can't they all be like that? That's my question.
I don't want to give every car my credit card number. So even that is kind of weird. It would be cool to me if you can just pay at a Tesla supercharger thing. But I guess the way Tesla is, you're forced to have it all connected, kind of like an iPhone with your Apple account, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the Tesla chargers don't even have a screen because the screen is in the car. So, once they open the network up to other cars, it will definitely have to be through the app because, yeah, there's no screen on the charger itself.
Yeah, and that's like proprietary for their cars, and I get it, and they're using that to make their car the more desirable electric car. But when it comes to everything else, it's just like I keep picturing if you had to have an app to pay at like a Shell or a Petro-Canada. Like, it would be insanity. Like, I just want to go in, tap my card, put my card in, buy some snacks, get out. Like, I don't want to have an app. And even right now, like, how many electric car charging apps do you guys have on your phone?
Well, do you have? I don't have any, but I'm thinking of buying a new EV, probably a Bolt or an Bolt EUV, because those are the cheapest. And I'm podcast poor, Yuri. You have to understand, the podcast world is not great, unless you're, Mark Maron or somebody. So, and I'm thinking I'm going to have like 5 different apps, and they're all going to have my credit card, and they're all going to have to deal, some of them are going to work, some of them are not going to work. Here in Saskatchewan, we never even had a fast charger until about when, Brian? A couple of years ago?
A couple of years ago, yeah.
Then they all suddenly started to come. And now our two biggest cities are Regina and Saskatoon. Saskatoon's 2.5 hours away. There's a Tesla charger at the halfway point at a town called Davidson, but there's no third-party chargers. So people going there have to charge on a level 2 just to make that trip. It's ridiculous. So the chargers are new. EVs are new because we do get down to minus 40. And because we're rednecks here, my fellow citizens are not the first to want to adapt to EVs, and it's oil country. But then, in January, and in much of January, the Swift Current chargers on the way to Calgary, between here and Calgary, were down. And it's a small city, but they did have 3 charging stations. 3 different branded charging stations plus a Tesla, right? Or 2 plus a Tesla.
I'm not sure.
There was
a
co-op. Yeah, no, there was 3 different charges, and they were all not working. The whole stations were not working. And it's not like they're overused. It's probably sporadically used by some EV nerd that goes through there every week. Like they're not used hardly at all. And there was different.
So what you were forgetting about those apps was every app is going to hold a balance of at least $10 from your credit card on the app too. So if you forget, or if a charging company disappears, you lose that $10 or whatever. Because I think I have $10 on every single charging company app that I've just accepted as a loss.
That's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Oh well, maybe you got to tell your accountant about that. Write this off. Fight away.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, the charging stations, they just people go down a lot.
I read stories on Facebook. People are staying in hotels because none of the 3 branded charging stations are working. That hardly ever get used. It's not like they're overused. They're not vandalized. They're just not working. I happen to think that there's a conspiracy. It's so unbelievable that none of them are working.
Yeah, I don't know why they're not working, but from our one, I guess, month of reviewing like 6 electric cars, we found out that Electrify Canada was down a bunch. We called a bunch to get them to fix it because I'm not going to just report on it and leave. And it took them a while to fix it, and then it went down again, and then apparently they fixed it again, but then they still couldn't even get the mall where they're located to remove the snowbank that was blocking the chargers to back in. Yeah, and like they still couldn't. And I literally filmed the video with like 7 or 8 different snow moving equipment within eyesight of this snowbank.
Right.
And like we asked like a month, and like the bank is finally gone thanks to the weather.
Yeah.
But
they decided to put the snowbank by the EV chargers because what are those? That's ridiculous.
And then even a lot of other ones were blocked too. Like we were coming back from the racetrack, and there's an electric charger at the Wendy's near Cayuga.
Oh, I envy that.
Sure enough, the one spot where all of the snow is the electric charging spot. And some other journalists were at the new Ivy that they put in at like Canadian Tire in Mississauga. There's snow blocking that too. It's kind of ridiculous. And that's not even the chargers working on it. That's just snow.
Yeah,
you're literally getting iced. You're getting iced at the chargers.
And last summer, when it was peak COVID, malls were closed in Ontario. The mall, Toronto Premium Outlets, had they fenced off the way to get to the charger. And they're like, oh, go around this way. And I'm like, I couldn't figure it out. And I guess they wanted me to go through the shipping route, which I was like, okay, I didn't get that. So I just moved barriers. Mm-hmm. And because I moved barriers, Porsche got a little mad at me.
Really?
Because I posted that in the video. Well, if you think about it, Porsche is Volkswagen Group, which owns Electrify Canada in America. So it all looked bad, I guess. And then also at the Flow Charger at Sherway, they coned off the underground parking at Sherway Mall. They coned off the underground parking where the Flow Charger was. And I moved cones to get in there too. And they're like, why are you moving cones? I'm like, I need to get to the electric charger. I'm like, well, it's closed off. I'm like, yeah, but the charger's on, it's working. And this is like where I want to charge. So then later I asked them, I'd come back like later that week, and I found the security guards and I asked them to move the cones for me, and they were fine with that. And I'm like, why can't you just line the cones up so that people have access to this electric charger? And they said, we don't have enough cones. So like EV adoption in Canada was being stopped because a mall didn't have enough cones. That's like part of it too.
You know, something
And now
has to
we're-
be done. Something has to be done. The journalist needs to investigate this.
Well, we're not even at why chargers don't work and how to get them fixed
No.
yet. That's just getting
We
to
haven't.
the charger.
You
So
can't even get to them. And then if you're
So
lucky
that-
enough to get to one, they don't work.
yeah. So the petrol
you have
can.
a lot of you have a lot of viewers. Do you have any sense that you've made any impact, that people are starting to pay attention to this problem?
I mean, the comments are showing it a lot, but I think a lot of people just give up and they don't know how to do anything. Because even with our YouTube channel, we complained for, I think, 3 weeks that the Petro-Canada chargers were down. And then we have a 1.5 million subscribers, right? And they were still down for 3 weeks until the last video. And then I messaged my contact at E.V.s Chargers to contact the person at Petro. I messaged the AJAC, the Automotive Journalists Association of Canada, to message the people at Petro. I think I blasted them on Twitter and Instagram and in the video, and then I called in. And then they got that charger fixed within 3 hours. So the charger that was down for over like a month was literally left unlocked and open with a bunch of electrical stuff that I'm sure would zap you, was fixed within like 4 hours or 3 hours of finally getting a hold of someone. So they can fix stuff. They just, for some reason, aren't fixing stuff.
We got the excuse, somebody said that they couldn't get the parts in a small city between here and Calgary. I don't believe
That's
that.
a good excuse.
Not for a month.
It's a good excuse, though.
Not for a month.
I don't know.
I can get
I don't think it's a
a
valid
wrench on
reason.
Amazon
It's a good
tomorrow.
excuse.
I mean, why can't they get, a diode or a relay or a chunk of wire? I mean, come on. And they've got to have a base of spare parts for these things in a warehouse in Canada if you're running a charging network. But it really makes me question the commitment that places like Petro-Canada and other oil companies that we have out here in Western Canada putting up chargers, if it's just not greenwashing, if it's just not like show.
It's the thing is, all the EVs are selling out anyways because there's a shortage of cars. So it almost doesn't matter. Like, they don't have to fix the chargers any sooner because all the EVs are still selling out. Like, I really don't know what's going on and why they're taking so long. I do think it's kind of like a PR stunt. Like, they are greenwashing, like nobody actually cares except for Tesla. And that's why, you go to a mall, it has one charger for the last, or two chargers for the last 5 years. Meanwhile, there's like 18 Tesla chargers there that have been there for a while too. And they're never blocked off with cones.
Tesla sees it as a business opportunity, and for some reason, no one else does.
Do they really want it to all work? Like, I don't know. I'm not convinced. So I wish it was better. And hopefully, if I can't help get more chargers installed, at least I can maybe help get the chargers that are installed to be working at all
Well, there's
times.
a lot of money going in from the federal government to new chargers. I've got this crazy idea that says that maybe Tesla should be the Kleenex of EV chargers. Maybe we should just let them run the network, and open it up to third parties because it works. And because I don't trust anyone. I mean, I'm starting to not trust these companies. Like, literally, you can't, if you're planning a road trip and you can't stop, you can't charge, and you have to buy a hotel room. It's just ridiculous. And that can't continue.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I think, I guess a lot of us car reviewers probably need to do more road trips, more stuff revealing that. But it's hard. Like I said, like, you get the car on a Monday or Tuesday, and you have like a week to do the whole thing. And then can everyone afford to get put into a situation where they run out of juice in like Gananoque?
My family used to live in Gananoque. Thank you for the shout out.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like my friend got stuck there in a Toyota Tercel once. He said it was the worst 2 days he's ever had. So that's why I'm like, in an EV, it'd probably be even winter in Gananoque would probably be not the most fun. But
did you say 2 days? He was stuck there?
I think it's just. Yeah, I think he was having trouble getting a part from the mechanic there, and I'm like, you should have called me. I could have got the part from Toronto and driven it over. But this was like back in the day. Cell phones were kind of new. I think it was like 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I recently did a road trip in my Tesla to Edmonton. That's a new charging network. And I was a little worried because if any one of them was not working, which does happen with the Tesla chargers, if any one of them was not working, I wouldn't have made it. I needed all the chargers. But, they were all working, so it wasn't a problem. I've got a story here from Drive Tesla Canada that came out yesterday. EV chargers on the Isle of Wight hacked to show porn.
Okay.
So apparently there's these chargers in the Isle of Wight that have a screen on them, and somebody somehow hacked them to show
I know they hacked
porn.
them in Russia to show
is,
anti-Putin messages.
And that was another story as well, anti-Putin
Why
messages.
would you bother?
So I guess it can
Why would you bother hacking an EV charger?
But the important
also,
question is, could they still charge?
Probably.
Because like at the end of the day, like, you know, whatever.
I'm willing to watch porn as long as my damn car charges.
I'll sacrifice and watch some porn. Okay.
If you were king, what would you do for EV chargers? What's your solution? Is it government policy, or just people need to get their act together, the companies themselves?
Well, I'm not really good at all that stuff, government policies and what everyone's doing. All I know is that there's not enough chargers, there's not more chargers, and they're barely working. So they just need to, like, okay, every en route, right? I spoke to the guys who are doing IV, who have the contract for that. So they're putting in like maybe the 4 to 6 chargers for every en route, right? And that's going to take like 2 years to do. But then are they going to expand it right after? They're not sure. So you're going to have, like, have you ever come back from like the Quebec area after like a festival or something to Ontario? Well, I guess you haven't, but you come back and it's like there's a million cars. It's hard to get gas at a rest stop. Like it is going to be impossible for like electric cars to do anything. If there's 4 electric cars, they need to charge, and there's one charger, and they're all working.
There for 45 minutes, maybe.
And you got to think, like, 45 minutes. That's like one car will take 45 minutes to charge, and you don't know about the etiquette. Someone might try to charge and go in and then spend an extra half hour eating their Burger King or something. Like, I think it's going to hit super hard one day, where there's too many electric cars, not enough chargers, and it's going to be too late. And people are going to start buying gas cars again to, like, just be able to do road trips. I know
when the Model 3 came out in BC, there was a big push to get Model 3s. A lot of them were sold really quickly, and then they were starting to run out of superchargers on long weekends. And Tesla took about 6 months, but they put up more chargers. I don't see anyone else caring because, like Brian said, Tesla sees it as a business opportunity and not something else. What do you think about like an interact of EV charging networks, like one app for all? And that sounds like something that would appeal to you, wouldn't it? So
yeah, I think my buddy William Clavey, he writes over at Clavey's Corner. I think he says Quebec does that, and it's best. And every time we complain about charging in Ontario, he just says how much better it is in Quebec.
Well, that's interesting.
And yeah, I think that would be a good solution too, because like one app, cool, I get it. But like 6 apps that are holding your money, and then there's like 6 places that could get hacked to have your credit card info or something, and it's just like, it just makes me feel uneasy.
If the chargers are getting hacked and showing porn, maybe they can get your credit card.
Yeah.
And of course, Tesla is going to open up the chargers to third parties, but it'll be easier in Europe because everybody's on the CCS standard. So once they do it in North America, you will need an adapter, unfortunately, because the Tesla connector is proprietary. So the you'll need a CCS adapter for the Tesla charger as well as the app, but at least it's possible.
Yeah, Jacob showed me some images in Europe of cars using the Tesla chargers, and since the Tesla chargers are standardized to Tesla cars with the charging in the same position, now you've got non-Tesla EV cars screwing up the parking because they can't get in at the right angle. And so they're almost like icing Teslas as EVs kind of thing. So yeah, there's that too.
Tesla went with very short cables on their chargers, and I'm not sure why they did that, but it works if you have a Tesla, but if you don't have a Tesla, if the charging port is in a different spot, this could be a challenge.
But I can see them they probably did that on purpose because they knew they were going to get forced into this, and they wanted to they wanted to have a reason to not do it. And like, that's a smart business decision too, especially if like your customers are going to have to suffer now because the government's forcing you to let everyone charge on your system. That is like the selling feature of your system.
Yeah, for sure. That might have been planned.
Yuri, I thought maybe we could close out our time with you by talking about some of the more affordable EVs out there, which is what a lot of our listeners are either just buying EVs or are planning to. So, and they're probably not going to buy the Porsche. I mean, I'd buy the Porsche. I think I'd buy the Porsche.
Okay, affordable EVs. I'm looking at my list of the stuff I really like. The old Ioniq, I would love to buy one of those if I could find one with like decent range. Yeah, of course.
But it has a very short range. That's not a killer for you?
Yeah, I've got like 5 cars, so.
Well, did you like it? What did you like about it?
Yeah, I loved it. It was still normal interior, hatchback, and it was just normal car, but electric. And I think that was the coolest part. Let's see. The e-Golf was pretty cool, but I don't know if those have good battery still. The i3 with the range extender was really cool because we ran out of electricity in that and just used the range extender, and that was fine. But I'm not sure how good those are as electric cars these days, and if they're expensive or not.
There's a 2017 for $27,000 in Saskatoon that I was looking at. I think it's an earlier version that doesn't have quite the battery. But even with the range extender, I think it's 70 miles or 100 kilometers. So it's like 2 sets of 100 kilometers, one with battery, one with gas. But, and also that they're made out of carbon fiber. So if you get a fender bender on the front, it's like, $15,000 or something. It's a ridiculous amount of money because the carbon fiber to make it light.
Yeah, but I think it's just the prices are too crazy to actually buy anything used right now. Like you kind of need
to
wait.
You hated the ID4, I recall. Like everybody hates the ID4. It's the SUV EV of our time that has fallen short, if I'm not mistaken.
They did a lot wrong in that, and then they got the bad infotainment, which is also in the GTI and the Golf R. So that the ID4 I would avoid, but there were nice things about it where you can like get in and go without having to turn on the car, which the new Volvo C40 also does. But that car is super expensive. But one of my favorite EVs was the 2018 Smart for 2 EQ.
Is that right?
Cabriolet.
Wow.
I had a hoot in that car, top down, driving around. Like I was in like some traffic in Toronto and like just getting around car. Like it was the zippiest, most fun thing. Like, it's a convertible. It was cool, little turning radius. I had a great time. It had no range and it was super expensive. So that was bad. But I really enjoyed that. It was like my own little Barbie car or something.
Three of the things you've mentioned are defunct now. The i3, the e-Golf, at least in North America, and the Smart car.
Yep. Yeah, I guess I like stuff that doesn't exist anymore. Maybe because those were the older cars that were normal but electric, and now everything is electric and electric interior and kind of weird. I know Jacob loves the Mustang Mach-E GT, but even there, like nothing's really affordable, is it? Especially if you're not in a province or state with fixed dealer pricing, you're going to get marked up like 10 to 20 on something new. So like, nothing is really affordable at all anymore for EVs, is it?
No, I mean, the deal on EVs, I'm hoping to get MSRP in Saskatchewan. And that would be, a couple $1,000s more than used. That's the way, if that worked out. But yeah, I mean, if Quebec has a great program, I bought my Leaf from Quebec because, they'd had all the discounts, all the rebates, and the used market was cheaper in Quebec. And it cost me $1,000 to ship it here. So I honestly have thought about flying to Montreal for a weekend and doing some car shopping, because that's what I'm interested in, is EVs.
Yeah, the provinces where there's been incentives, there's more supply.
But do they even need to give incentives anymore? Because all the cars are selling out anyways. So like the incentives are going to disappear because of the chip shortage. And then like, there's the weird cars like the MX-30 that only started selling in British Columbia and Quebec, not everywhere else at first too.
As well.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, there's no electric car that I think is like a good price right now that you can get. Like the best thing to buy right now is probably an EV6 or an Ioniq 5 or a Mach-E GT. And other than that, you're just getting into like luxurious stuff that's kind of crazy and wild, but all the electric cars are fun to drive, and when the charging works, it's great. And I got to get another Tesla to drive and like try to road trip that because I do want to experience more of that.
Well, most of Brian and I's EV experience are charging overnight, and we never have to worry about that. except for the odd road trip. And in Brian's case, it's been pretty smooth sailing with the Tesla network. But generally speaking, that's kind of what's holding back cars is the range. Like, how can you do the one that, it's like 2% of your driving is on the highway on average or something like that. And that's what's holding back EVs is the range and the difficulty of charging. Or if you live in an apartment or a condo that doesn't have, charging at home, then you have to charge at the grocery store or something like that. Brian?
Yeah, and that would be fine too if you could like actually have chargers at grocery stores, but trying to find that is super rare too.
In Canada.
So yeah, the Ioniq 5 and the EV6, I do want to talk some more about those because I know you guys like those quite a bit, especially the Ioniq 5. In the video, you even mentioned you were close to thinking about buying one.
Yeah, I wanted to buy that from Hyundai, like buy the PR unit, the demo unit when it's done, but I didn't like the seat comfort. The rear wiper thing, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a car for my wife to drive around my 1-year-old in, and like, I'm not going to like, I'm like, that's an oversight, and especially for it's like, for me, like, cool, I use my side mirrors, but like for my wife driving, like, I don't want her to have to like do workarounds for a brand new like $60,000 car, and yeah, and then the infotainment still, it was like kind of like, it's pretty all right, but it just wasn't what I thought it would all be. But mostly the seat comfort, like we just couldn't get comfortable in that. But the EV6 I was much more comfortable in. But then it had the weird capacitive touch buttons that I don't like, and no wiper.
Weird. I mean, it's the same platform, but they use different seats. I'm surprised.
Well, that's how they like customize. You get the different. You get to customize the body, a couple infotainment things, different things on the inside to make the models different. So maybe that's where it comes in. But Jacob liked the seats. For me, it wasn't a good fit. But then you got to think about like people pre-ordering them. They'll never sit in them before they buy them. And then by that point, it's too late. And they don't want to say they hate their seats. They're just going to say, yeah, this feels great. I'm not going to admit to anything. Because you're not going to admit to like a $70,000 mistake, right? You just make it work.
Are you interested in any of the trucks that'll be coming out?
Yes, interested to drive them. I mean, we did drive that Tesla Cyber mini truck from Hacksmith, which was a lot of fun. I mean, all those trucks look really cool. It'll be interesting to see how they work for towing and stuff like that. Not that like we do any towing, but like there's Truck King YouTube channel in Canada too, and I'm sure they'll do a lot of tests to really show you what it can and can't do. But yeah, I think those are going to be cool. Like the Rivian looks cool. The F-150 is probably going to just absolutely dominate the market. And Cybertruck, if it ever comes out, will be the coolest looking truck on the road. So I'm excited to see that.
So Brian and I have been fascinated by EVs and waiting for EVs since we were kids in the 70s. I take it that you're more of an average person on this, that you don't have a particular fascination with EVs. But what would you say to regular people who are maybe skeptical about EVs and the coming transition that's sort of being forced on them one way or another, with 100% of car sales have to be EVs by different dates in different parts of the world, even in Canada? What would you say to petrol heads that would assure them that EVs are going to be okay? What are the positive aspects of it?
Well, they drive really nice, like a lot less vibrations and stuff coming from the car. They're fast. They're like pretty interesting looking. Like they are, like having that speed is really nice. Being able to drive one pedal driving is interesting too. You almost have more fun trying to be more economical in your driving than instead of like driving fast and like shifting gears and stuff like in an old school kind of car. But if you're like a petrol head, and you wanted to like still drive like a manual gas car, like if you think about it today, you can still buy a Model T and drive it on public roads. Like you can go on any highway with it. So if someone's like, they're not going to make cool gas cars anymore, like all the cool gas cars already exist. Like you'll always be able to probably drive them. Like let everyone else go EV. You can still have your gas car and you can have your EV car for, gas car for the weekends. Like it's fine. For the petrol heads, everything is fine. Don't worry about it. You can still drive your cool gas cars.
They'll always be around.
I think. Unless, there's no way they could like ban them, especially not in America. Like America's going to let the government banned them from driving any car they've ever bought in the past. Like, no chance.
If I lived long enough, I think there might come a day where I might actually get into a petrol car and say, wow, this reminds me of my childhood. You know, it'd be a overwhelming nostalgia feeling if I was in a lot of E.V.s or, you know, robo-taxis or something like that.
Like digging out the vinyl and the turntable.
Sure. Yeah, well, my kid's 1 right now, so I'm wondering if she's going to take her driver's license test.
My kid took his driver's license test in an EV.
Or a gas car.
Mine was the first one in Saskatchewan to get his license in an EV. And it worked to his advantage because the instructor hadn't seen an EV before, so he was sort of distracted.
Yeah, the cool car rule always works really well. Like I took my driver's license in a Camaro. He was like, oh. 83? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, let's roll. And I screwed up a bit.
Let's see what this thing can do.
I'm hoping to maybe when my daughter goes for her driver's license, I'll have her go in my Plymouth Prowler.
That'll be a fascinating thing.
Guaranteed pass.
There was a news story a few months ago about somebody who was using autopilot during a driver's test in a Tesla. Yeah. I think they failed.
Oh, that's because I know if you take the test now, they'll have a piece of paper that they put over your reverse camera because you're supposed to reverse and parallel park with like just your eyes. But I guess everything's going to change in the future. Yeah, they've got a little thing to cover it right away.
I took my driver's test with my son during COVID. So the tester had to drive behind us in a car because everything was COVID safe. So I had to sit in the passenger seat. So there was somebody there, but I was forbidden from talking. Like I couldn't do anything or say anything or make any hand gestures or anything. So I just had to sit there and hope that my son didn't crash into something.
Yuri, it's been a blast, and we're so glad that you took the time out. I guess, you know, you must be a busy person. You've got a 1-year-old. You've got a YouTube channel that needs feeding constantly. And we're thrilled that you chose us to take time, and I'm sure your fans are going to enjoy seeing a conversation with you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for talking so much about environmental stuff, because I do want to be environmental as much as I like my gas cars. Like I like the climate. I want everything to be going in a better direction. But man, those chargers, like we just need to get them working, I think.
All right. Well, is there anything you want to plug, Yuri? Where can people find you on the internet?
Straight Pipes on YouTube for new car reviews twice a week. But more importantly, make sure you subscribe to this channel on YouTube because the algorithm.
Yeah, it's all about the algorithm. Yes. It rules us all.
The Clean Energy Show with Brian Stockton and James Whittingham.